It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to the Travel and Cruise Industry Podcast on this Friday. What is today? 17th day of October, 2025. Coming to you from Bedford County, Virginia, right outside of Lynchburg. Pretty exciting show here this morning, folks. We have a very special guest, and I've been chatting with her a little bit. Looking forward to that. Not a whole lot of news for later on in the show. The headlines this morning, Queen Elizabeth makes Miami debut. Also today, Disney takes delivery. Mardi Gras returns to service. And an emergency fire drill. That and lots more here at 11 o'clock. Today, folks, is National Pasta Day. You guys know what I feel about pasta. I'm okay with that in any form or fashion. And also, guys, in 1920, that was when Hot Air Tom was probably in high school. The Chicago Bears played their first professional football game. Hot Air Tom tried to be the football. That's neither here nor there. In case you're listening via the podcast, you can access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net. Or wherever you get your podcasts from, just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News. All right, so really the only announcement I have this morning is just to remind everybody about the Grandiosa, MSC Grandiosa on February 7th and February 14th back to back. There's still some cabins available if you'd like to go. Let me know. And also, yesterday we talked, I'm going to mention this later in the show too, we talked quite a bit about the MSC Transatlantics, and it was a special through midnight last night. Well, they've extended it for another week. So any of those transatlantics with the no solo supplement or next to no solo supplement, on several of them, you can let me know on that. But they're going to extend that for another week. So, all right. I have a special guest this morning. She is Sick Girl Travel, which is the brainchild of Jennifer Lloyd, who began her travel blog after being diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome in 2015. Her condition, which affects connective tissues, has made her passionate about exploring the world while managing her health challenges. She's traveled to all 7 continents, so she's beat me on a couple. 39 countries. I might have her on a couple there. And 40 states. Of course, I have been able to hit all 50 states, so I'm head over there. She aims to share her knowledge to help others with disabilities and enjoy travel as well. So we have a lot of the same philosophy. So with no further ado, let me introduce Jennifer Lloyd. Jen, welcome to
the
podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
All right, so can you share the story behind Sick Girl Travels and what inspired you to start it?
Yes, I was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome after having my first spinal fusion surgery. So they didn't know what exactly was going on with me, because Ehlers-Danlos is sort of a rare condition, or at least rarely diagnosed condition. It's getting a little bit more buzz lately. I think there's been a few, activists out there really seeking to get it more in the forefront of doctors' knowledge. But at any rate, I was in a wheelchair and in significant amount of pain. I had a really difficult recovery from my spinal fusion surgery. And coming back, I was like, why am I waiting to see the world if this is going to be my future where I might have more of these surgeries? And spoiler alert, I did. I had 2 more spinal fusion surgeries. And mobility, I thought there's no better time than the present to get out there and see as much as possible while I still had some degree of mobility.
Now, you're not in a chair, though.
I'm not in a chair currently, no.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I say that's good. I couldn't get along without the chair. So, I've gotten very comfortable in the chair.
No, I've been there at points in my life. It's not to say that that's not my future. So, you get as comfortable as possible, but probably not as comfortable as you are navigating the world.
How's your personal experience with your illness shaped your philosophy toward accessible travel?
I'm definitely a lot more keyed into how inaccessible a lot of the world is for many people. My father uses a chair, so I'm always on the lookout for places that he would be able to navigate and means of travel that would be good for him. He doesn't fly, so he's takes Amtrak quite a few places and cruises quite a bit. And I've definitely opened my eyes to cruising, which is something that I hadn't been doing much in my life prior to my diagnosis. But seeing that that's a fairly easy way to get around and see a lot of the world, I've embraced cruising a lot more than I used to.
What are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have about traveling with a disability or a chronic illness?
I think a lot of people say, "Oh, I can't," and I'm very careful to say that, not be one of those people that says, "Well, if I can do it, you can do it," because there are definitely people that face hurdles that it's going to be next to impossible to do.
Right.
But there are great ways to travel and are great places to see that are probably more accessible than people think. And I want to highlight those in my travels. And there are places that, yes, you can go to the beach, and yes, you can see Europe, and yes, you can, without having to break rank on cobblestones. Of course, there are also places where that is unfortunately the fact of the matter, and getting around is going to be difficult. But I think that a lot of people don't realize how much of the world has opened up and become more accessible in the past few years. There's definitely been embracing more accessibility around the world.
Have you seen accessibility evolve since you started blogging?
Yeah, for sure. Even in terms of spaces that are inclusive of kids with autism now, and museums that offer hours that are specific for kids with autism. There are places now, museums, which are really good about having features for blind and deaf and low-sighted and people. And there are changes, even going up to the Acropolis in Greece, that there's now an elevator to the back of it, which was a big thing that the people were like, no, you're going to destroy the integrity of our historical landmark by putting an elevator. And well, it's hard to find, but it's there. And it's now much easier to get up and see. And that was not something that existed even a few years ago. So I've definitely seen places embrace, accessibility a lot more than they used to.
All right. Obviously, in the States, we are, because of the ADA,
sure,
a lot more advanced than other places. What have you found to be the most difficult places to travel?
The most difficult places to travel for me have been in Central America. I've had a lot of trouble getting around, like Nicaragua, and less so Belize, but Honduras definitely had issues. I mean, all the places that you'd think that are have less infrastructure and are less built up. I've had significant problems getting around. South America presents some challenges. Definitely parts of Europe that are still like very cobblestone heavy. Is an ankle twister for me. Yeah, definitely those sort of places.
I tend to do better in Central America.
Oh, really?
Than I do in Europe. Although, once you find a good place in Europe, I'm taking advantage of it.
Sure.
I love one thing that's nice about Europe, their museums, for the most part, are well done and very accessible.
For sure. Yeah, places that are more accessible than others. I loved Barcelona. I thought was great. Definitely a lot of Spain. I had an easier time getting around. Right. Places like Prague, definitely more difficult. But still, I love the city. It's just hard to get around.
Yeah. And see, in my situation, because I cruise almost exclusively, I can't do river cruises in Europe because of the chair. They're not accessible for the most part.
Right.
Where at least now the American river cruises have one or sometimes two wheelchair accessible cabins, and at least have a lift so I can get from deck to deck on them. But
that surprises me. I didn't know that about the European river cruises. I've never looked into them.
Well, the reason is there's two real reasons why not. Mm-hmm. One is the height of the bridges over there. They have to have a lower slung ship, which if you have an elevator shaft, that takes an extra roughly story above the top of the ship, and that can't go under a lot of the European bridges.
Gotcha.
The other problem is they stack park on a lot of the ports where they'll actually parallel park out into the river. So let's say my ship is the fourth ship out. I have to go across three other ships, which means finding the access points and getting through it and off to the next ship. And sometimes that's just totally impossible.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, it's pretty tough on anybody in a chair.
Yeah.
So, what are your biggest goals for Sick Girl Travels in the next few years?
I'd really love to grow my audience base. It's been a slow growth. I've been a little difficult time with the last few Google updates, but I'm trying to reach as many people as possible. The letters that I get from people, the emails are tremendously rewarding, and I'm happy that I've been able to help anybody get out and see the world and expose them to new ideas and new places that they hadn't thought of going before.
How do you see accessible travel landscape changing in the future?
Gosh, I hope it becomes more accessible. I really, really do. I see a trend that way, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I'm open.
Yeah.
So, do you work on any collaborations or partnerships that help your blog website out?
I've collaborated with different bloggers and writers before, that other people with chronic illnesses, like people with lupus and a lot of chronic pain conditions people will reach out to me with. And that's primarily what I'm dealing with is traveling with chronic pain and that how that affects you. But as far as brand partnerships, I mean, I've partnered with a few tour companies to go see places, and they want to highlight that their tour is accessible. And Happily, everyone I've gone on actually is, because sometimes they go, "Oh, it's accessible," and you go, well, "What about the bus that takes you there?" Like, this is not at all accessible. So,
Yeah.
I've definitely had a few of those surprises on Get Your Guide or Viator, where they mark it as accessible, and you get there and you go, "I'm not in a chair, and thank goodness, because the person in a chair would not be able to do this at all. And you best change your advertising for this tour, because you're going to lure people in, are going to be stuck and very angry about this."
Yeah. How has your community grown over the years? I know you have the same problem I have. Grow slowly.
Yeah. It's slow growth, I think, but between having people find me on Facebook, on my group on Facebook, Sick Girl Travels. That's been a great place for people to find me and talk and communicate with each other and help each other out. Because it's definitely, I've only been to 39 countries, and however many of those I've only visited a few cities in. So it's good to have a group on Facebook where people can help each other out, because there's so much more of the world that I haven't gotten to yet. And it's nice to have, if I don't know the answer to a question, it's nice to have somebody there that generally will know the answer to a question and can pipe in and say something. So that community is really phenomenal to have.
I saw some of your writings about Africa. Have you done a lot of travel in Africa?
No, I've only been to South Africa, to Cape Town and Cape Agulhas.
And how did you find that? Because I've been to Northern Africa, but I haven't been to the rest of the continent.
South Africa, public transportation is quite terrible.
Yeah.
Public transportation is quite terrible. You're not going to want to get on the trains or the buses there. But if you can arrange, I got a private ride, which was actually quite inexpensive. Cape Town was very, very affordable, I found, when I went in 2018. And I arranged to go on an accessible safari there, which was phenomenal. Really, really great safari. And I write about that on my blog. But yeah, I got to see all the major things and found the infrastructure was quite good in terms of, sidewalks without curbs and all that in Cape Town anyway. I didn't do Joburg. But I love South Africa. I'd like to see more of Africa at some point.
Yeah. Have you spent much time in Asia?
I have spent a lot of time in China. I actually, in 2019, went to China 6 different times. And I was volunteering with a rescue that saved dogs from the dog meat trade. And so I was going over there and volunteering at their base and bringing back, I would say I brought over maybe 70, 75 dogs back to the U.S. to find their forever homes. So I was doing quite a bit of volunteer work there. I've also been to Japan, to Hong Kong. Hong Kong, Macau, yeah, not too much of Southeast Asia. I haven't really done.
Yeah.
Why do you ask?
I didn't make mention of this before, but one of the things that jumped up and grabbed me about you was your love of animals and rescue of animals, which obviously is one of my things as well.
Yeah. It was really hard to do the volunteer work there. They were, because most of the people are in there cleaning the cages, and I'm not much for manual labor given my spine and my chronic pain. But they were like, no, it's just as important that you come and you play with the animals and socialize them so that they're going to be able to go into loving homes once they make the journey to either they were going to America or to Europe. And so I went there and I just pet some cats and dogs and took them back to their homes. So went quite a bit to China.
That's awesome. How are you on flying? You still can comfortably sort of fly.
Probably with medical intervention, a few pills, and I'm good to fly. It's it's a lot of pain being in one position. I have to get up quite a bit. Just I have really bad muscle spasms and really bad pain from the 3 spinal fusions that I've had. They were not super successful. I keep doing them because the discs keep herniating. But yeah, it's not great. It's definitely hard for me to do those long flights. I try to break it up if I can. I know people hate layovers, but if I can get off that plane and walk around a little bit, I'm happy. It's real hard to do those Australia and Asia flights.
I I've just pretty much decided not to fly again. So,
I'm a big girl too, so it's not comfortable even if I were in the best health conditions. It's you're cramped in there, and it's not a good. It's flying is horrible.
and the other problem I have, the last two times I've flown, I ended up getting sick from,
Oh yeah.
I think, from being on the flight with people
Oh
coughing and
yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
that I don't have a problem with when I'm on cruise ships. So
Yeah, no, people get on a plane with all sorts of things, and I'm like, if you're sick, stay home.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you have a particularly memorable encounter in your traveling career?
Memorable encounter. The the first time I went to China, it was my very first solo trip, and I went to Beijing, and I had a tour guide who was really lovely, and we hit it off. And she was a product of the one-child policy in China, so she didn't have any, passport or birth certificate or paperwork that would let her travel or do anything. And she ended up meeting a guy that was there, wanted a solo tour from her, and she was like, "Oh, this Australian businessman's out of his mind. He wants a solo tour, wants to hit on me." Well, lo and behold, they ended up getting married, and she ended up moving to Australia. And so they invited me to come down to Australia and visit them and take a tour around Sydney and hang out. And so I got to see Australia
Nice.
based off my friendship with this one woman who thought that she was having a tour with a lunatic who ended up being her future husband. So I'll always appreciate them, and they've come to LA, and I've given them a tour around Los Angeles. So yeah, I like making those friendships, and you never know where they'll take you down the road.
Yeah. What's next for Jen?
I am going to Paris for Christmas, so I will have hopefully a wonderful time there. I hear it's lovely that time of year, and that is my next big trip.
Well, I hope you have better weather than I had in January.
Oh no, is it that bad?
I froze to death. I was
Oh
basically in between London and England and Paris,
yeah.
for a month, and I
Yeah, we're
froze.
going to London for New Year's, so I expect it to be cold and rainy, and that wreaks havoc on my joints. That's the thing, but I gotta bundle up and hope for the best, and hopefully it's not too bad, and I can get around without too much pain.
Well, definitely take some Furlan Snuggies.
Oh yeah, I will.
All right, Jen, thank you so much for joining me today.
All right,
We'll have to do this again.
yes, absolutely, Chillie. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Jen. And that's Jen Lloyd. She is from such a neat website. And she does a lot of things that are, really good too. All right, guys, I'll be back with a couple of news stories. Not a whole lot of news, but a couple of news stories after a quick break from one of our fine network sponsors. Okay, so All right, again, folks, just to remind you,
MSC Cruises is offering solo transatlantic cruises from now until November with little or zero solo supplements. In addition, each guest will receive $100 to $200 on board credit. This promotion ends at midnight tonight. Call Chillie at 434-258-9264 to grab your cabin.
and that has been extended for another week, that and several other of the transatlantics. All right, so let's start off with Disney.
The Disney Destiny was delivered to Disney Cruise Line yesterday. Built at the Meyer Werft shipyard in Germany, the vessel was welcomed during a special ceremony in Eemshaven, Netherlands. The company said that the delivery ceremony is a maritime tradition that marks the completion of construction and the transfer of ownership from the shipbuilder to Disney Cruise Line. It took 185 years for Cunard to bring one of the queens to Miami. Cunard's Queen Elizabeth made history with its first ever arrival at Port Miami yesterday. The milestone event launches a two-season Caribbean schedule featuring itineraries across the Eastern and Western Caribbean. Port officials presented a ceremonial plaque to Cunard's captain and officers. If you get tired from walking too far, get a scooter. It's the only way to go. Are you planning a trip to Anaheim or LA in the next few months? It's a great time of the year to visit Southern California, with mild temperatures and seasonal Halloween and Christmas events at Disneyland. Anaheim and LA rentals are 15% off. Book by November 30th, 2025. Reserve online. Call 1-888-441-7575. Use SRN 11137 or email chillie@bookalaska.net. Mardi Gras emerged from a one-month dry dock at Chantier Naval de Marseille in France yesterday. 100 staterooms were modified with new connecting doors to provide more offerings for families and groups. Renovations also included accessibility improvements, retail refurbishments, and a casino expansion. Pittsburgh Jason is aboard. While docked in Ancona, MSC Lyrica undertook a comprehensive emergency exercise, subjecting its crew, onboard systems, and coordination with local authorities to a demanding, realistic scenario. With active involvement from both the Port Authority and the Italian Coast Guard, ship command and crew simulated a fire outbreak in the main galley, escalating to a general alarm and culminating in an abandonment of ship procedure. Over 400 crew members from multiple departments and various nationalities assumed roles as both victims and responders throughout the exercise. MSC Cruises is offering solo transatlantic cruises from now until November with little or zero solo supplements. In addition, each guest will receive $100 to $200 on board credit. This promotion ends at midnight tonight. Call Chillie at 434-258-9264 to grab your cabin.
All right, that's going to put an end to the news portion of today's show. Again, thanks to Jen Lloyd for being with us today. Jennifer Lloyd of Sick Girl Travels. By the way, prior to that, she wrote for a number of TV series and children's TV series in Los Angeles. She still lives in Los Angeles. So, all right, let's go see who's in the chat room. Fussing at me. Bob's with us. Says, have a great weekend and stay warm. Yes. There's Roger down in Jacksonville. Story was George Hallis tossed nickels around like they were manhole covers. I'm not surprised. Tom says aliens are attacking Chillie. From what, Tom? I don't know what you're referring to. Jamin's with us. Todd's with us. Good morning, y'all. There's Gretchen out in Ohio. Thank you guys for being here today. Interesting interview, I thought, this morning. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for the week. I'll be here all weekend in case anything major happens. So I've got a couple things to do, a couple doctor's appointments to go to. I was going to do PT today, but the leg's not healed up enough to put it through its paces again. So we're going to hold off on that until Monday. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising, and hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. Have a great Friday, everybody, and a fantastic weekend. See you Monday if I don't see you before then.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.